Good morning, Rabbi Sai. So we have two emails that have to do with the daf, and they were both sent to me. They were sent to me by a bunch of different people. So this one, Shapsi Cohen sent in along with other people. This is the case of a shar falling into water and hivish meimov. And here we go. Yeah, 2-3 days ago. If you look around the shore, a bull fell into a swimming pool. You look around it, it's like all dirty and murky, the water. At least. The Kitzer, he goes on. Rabbi said, this one, you're not going to believe it. This I got from many, many people this morning. They discovered that during COVID, the Bacharim in 770 were upset they couldn't get into 770. It was locked for COVID. So they dug a tunnel. They just found it the other day. They dug a tunnel from outside going into the ladies section. Obviously, there's no women then. And there's a lot of pictures and a lot of jokes. There's going to be tunnel tours now in 770, etc., etc. So there's also, the daf comes to life. And this is with audio. Okay, from Buenos Aires. And we're going to move on. The Masechta is sponsored for the unity of Am Yisrael. The Paras HaChodesh. Lilu Nishma Zechariah ben Moshe. Lilu Nishma Chaya bas Yosef. Paras HaChodesh Yosef and Chaya sorrowful the zchusim that come from supporting limud HaTorah. My boy said, listen to these two sponsorships. Marvin Diamond, the Yahrzeit of his father Paul Diamond, Avraham Tzvi ben Pesah Hillel, Beis Teves. The second sponsorship, sponsored by Marvin Diamond, Yahrzeit of his mother, Sarah Etya bas Avraham, Beis Teves. 22 years apart. Unbelievable. The art of the month is not sponsored by anybody, so the Olam is going to have to pick it up. We're going to have to come out of pocket now. Rabbi Sai, it's one of these easier dapim, especially in Amud Beis. Amud Beis is very, very repetitive, and I'll explain it. It's just pretty much the same thing. Nachamal. Even this sugya that we're starting with right now is a sugya that we learned last night. We're holding that from Nun Aleph Amud Beis, the last words on the Amud. And here's a trick question. Only for those who didn't listen to last night's shir. If a person in the middle of the day goes and digs a pit in the middle of Rishus Harabim, and somebody's horse falls into the pit and dies, Chayev, Potter, no comment. What's the halacha? It says in the pasuk, Sharach Hamar, v'nafal Sharach Hamar. I'm saying it's a horse. Chayev or Potter? Anybody? Anybody want to volunteer? Oh, you were here last night, you cheater. Kidding. No, anybody? Here, have a seat. Right? Yeah, you could, if you push the seat right over here, you can sit right in the front, but it has to be like past this line. Come, Shalom Aleichem, what's your name?
London.
From London. Shalom Aleichem, your son. Shalom Aleichem. You have a seat over here. Let him through. No, the answer is he's Potter. Why? Huh? I wouldn't be asking. You know why? Because it's the middle of the day. It's a middle of the day. It's a chiddush nifla. Everything that we learned up until this point must be that people or the shar fell at night. In the middle of the day, you're Potter. Why? Because the shar has to see where he's going. Huh? Chidushim. Omer B'Shua ben Levi. Hamoicher bais l'chaveiroi. We said yesterday that when it comes to selling a well, a pit, all you need to do is give over the cover of the well. And the Gemara says, because you try to use the kinyan of chazaka, and typically speaking, the owner must say, Lei chazek ukni. Instead of him saying it, he could take action. He could give you the cover of the well, and that's enough for you to start doing chazakah. Or Rabbi Shimon Levi, and therefore, when you sell a house, he gives him the key, kana. Hey Chidami asked the Gemara the same question we had yesterday, and we're going to have the same thing again. Repetitive type of sugya. He wanted to buy the house with money, which is allowed. Why do you need a key? He's trying to do chazaka. Why do you need a key? He tried to do chazaka. But since in order to do chazaka, the owner, you can't just go ahead and grab somebody's house, make it chazaka. Since you spoke about a price, you decide, I'm going to go right now to the house. There's a procedure. He has to tell you, and since he gave him the key of the house, you don't have to say those words. It's enough to take action and give a key to the house. He said, do we have the shepherd here today? No, he's not here. He is? No. Last night we had a shepherd, it's Givaldi. He was a shepherd of 400 sheep, and he gave us some insight. He said he might come today. Obviously, his alarm wasn't working that well. Okay. You sell entire flock of sheep to your friend. Same idea of giving him the cover of the well, the key. You give him a mashkuchis, which the Gemara is going to explain what a mashkuchis is. But all you need to do is give him a mashkuchis. He says the Gemara, what's the case? There's something called mashicha where you pull the animal to you. There's something called masira that you give over the leash, whatever you give over to the person. The mashicha works when the property is owned by both of them. Masira works even in Rosh Hashanah. The question is, why do I need a mashkuchas? You could give mashicha, masira. Loilam says the Gemara b'mashicha. He wanted to do mashicha. It was in a chatzar that was owned by two people, by the two of them. He should have told him, here, do the mashicha that we spoke about. The kiv in the Muslim mashkuchis. Once he gives him the mashkuchis, which is like a bell or maybe something else, it's as if he told him, go ahead and make the kingdom. My mashkuchis. It's a bell. Yes, here in Bava, they said it's a bell. Okay. So I was once upon a time involved in shchita, and I flew to Europe, and they were shechting sheep. And there's a conveyor belt that the sheep go on the conveyor belt, and then it squeezes them, and they can't move. And at the end of the conveyor belt, the shochet stands, shechts. Thing is that you have hundreds of sheep in this pen, and they don't want to go on the conveyor belt. So what do? They have this giant sheep that they all follow, I guess, or maybe each group of sheep has this guy. He was literally, I remember him being like double the size of all the other sheep. It's a massive sheep. And they all follow. So they pull him real hard onto the conveyor belt, and then all the sheep follow. Mamish kitzoin letifcha. And when it gets to the end, they pull the big guy off, and they put him back in the back, so they can do it all over again. And that's how they shech the sheep. Says the Gemara, Izo the Azla Bereish Edra. This is that sheep that we're talking about, the main guy. Once you give him the mashkuchis, you give him the main sheep, the guy that all the other sheep follow, all you need to do is control one, you control them all. So when the owner gives over the mashkuchis, the big guy, that means you're kaina. Says the Gemara, the Darash Ahu Gli Lala. There's a person from Galil. He's brought down in Gemara that he used to give drashas, he used to give musar, and in Shabbos, I think it's like Daf Pei or something, he gave a speech and he threw in some Kabbalah, and a bee came and bit him on his forehead and he died. Could be it's the same person. He said, Kadrog is Raya Alano, when the shepherd is upset at a sheep, Ovid and Agoda Simusa. He takes the main guy and he blinds him. And then the blind guy, everybody's following, the blind guy falls off a small cliff, they all fall after him. He falls into a pit, they all fall. It's a way to get him, says Rashi, the mashal is, when Klal Yisrael is not doing the right things, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends them a leader that's blind, so to speak. He leads them the wrong way, tells them to do the wrong stuff. We follow as sheep, so our leader is blinded. Or you can learn, maybe, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is upset, then everybody becomes blind. All of a sudden, all the technology and all the cameras and all the tatzpiniyot and all the shabak and everything, blind. Don't see a thing for 8 hours, garnished. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. Because when the shepherd is upset, then everybody becomes blind. Rabbi Kiva Iger asks a question we say every day. He says, okay, that's very good. If you're a learner, you learn. What about all the Amaratim? Especially in those days, you had people that never opened up a sefer. They didn't even know how to read. They're screaming by davening. First, Amud Beis, then Pesah. So he says, no, is not even referring to us, perhaps. It's referring to our leaders. Our leaders, their eyes should be open to guide us in the right way. It's not even for us. All right. Zok the Heilige Mishnah. Kiso Harishon. The Heilige Mishnah is sponsored by Moshe Cohen, Latzlocha, and Parnasa, and Ruchnius, and all good Zacher. Kiso Harishon Uba Hasheni, Umatzo Megula V'loi Kiso. You have a shtickle video. This is a new one. He has a yarmulke, if you notice, with tzitzis. Okay, Kisah Rishon. He closed the pit. Comes the partner. We already explained how they're partners in this, but they're partners. He uses the pit, Rashi says, and he walks away without closing it. Oh. Oive. There's a little bit of a problem with this one. That the problem is that it's made out of metal, and we're talking about that it's liya. If somebody, what's the halacha? If somebody else removed that, the first guy placed the cover on. Comes a random guy not related to this bar and opens it up. So that random guy is chayiv. Not so much, maybe the second guy is also chayiv, but we have a guy that opened it up. So Rashi says, as we're going to see in the Gemara, we're talking about that the cover was wormed, and that's why it came off by itself, so to speak. So Nachamal. What happens? Let's do Chazara. What happens if there are two partners? Partner number one walked by the bar, and he sees that it's open, and he says to himself, why should I do this? It's too heavy. Let the other guy, much stronger than me, let my partner cover it. And he walks away. Partner two walks by, sees that the bar is open. He says, why should I do it? That guy, my partner, he's a bum. He saw that it was open. He walked away. Let him do it. Who's chayiv, Rabbi Isai? Both. Both are chayiv. They're both negligent. So what's going on over here is that the first one covered it. Now, if you remember, we had the Mishnah last night, we learned that there's two people. There are two people here. Let me even show you the video real quickly, and I'll tell you the difference between the two. Over here, only the second guy is chayiv. Why? Because the first guy was drawing water, and he walked away. The Gemara explains that he gave over the cover to the second guy. So Mamela, the second guy takes full responsibility for it. But over here, we're talking about the first guy. There's no giving over responsibilities over here. What happened was the first guy covered it. Then it became uncovered by itself. There was no transfer of responsibility. But the second guy is going to be chayiv because he's a partner in this bar. He found it uncovered. He should have covered it. Now, the first guy is going to be chayiv also at a certain point because it's his bar also. He never transferred over responsibility to the second guy. And once he finds out, or he knows about it, or somebody told him about it, or he had enough time from the time he found out about it to make a new cover, then he also becomes chayiv because there's no transfer of responsibility. So Nachamal in the Mishnah.
Even if he didn't use it.
What you're asking why he used it? Okay, let's see. Kisoa Rishon Uba Sheni, and the second guy used it. Umatzoi Megula, he found it because it was worm. V'loikiso, yeah, hold on. V'loikiso, and he didn't cover. Hasheni Chayev, the second guy is Chayev. Kiso Karo, if whoever it is, the second guy covered it properly. Now, Rabbi, so we have to remember this because the entire Arichos in the Gemara is going to bring these two lines over and over, 4 times. Kiso Karai, a guy, very simple lines. He covered it properly. What's the halacha if you cover something properly? And a bull, a donkey fell in, umeis, and he died. Potter, why? You did your job. The Torah says, you did cover it, you potter. Like Kiso Karai, that's exactly what the Torah says. You didn't cover it properly. So these 2 lines are boys, please remember. If you covered it properly, potter. You covered it improperly, chayiv. Nafal lefanav mikol hakriya, there's another halacha. We might not even get to it in the Gemara, but if we do, even if you don't, it's part of the Mishnah. There's a bull walking next to a pit. There's a guy inside the pit with a jackhammer, and he starts the jackhammer. It startles the animal, and the animal is so scared, falls into the pit. Chaya, you're chaya. But that's because nafal lefanov, he fell face forward. Lachrov, he fell on his back, on his tail. Mikol hakriya, from that noise, potter. Nafal atoiche shor v'kela v'nishtabru. If a bull fell in with its yoke, with all the tools that it uses to plow, and the tools got broken, the kalim broke. Chamar v'kelav, a chamar is going with its sacks, v'niskaru, and they tore. Chayav ala behema upotter ala kalim. So for that we have this famous pasuk: V'chi yiftach ish bar, oiki yichrish bar, v'lo yichaser v'nafal shama shar o chamar. So the Gemara darshans shar v'lo adam, chamar v'lo kalim. So it has to be a donkey. You chayiv on the donkey and not on the kalim. And therefore, the next halacha fits right in over here. Nafal atoichoi shar cheresh. This is interesting. That's why I needed this. It's not the shar of a cheresh. That's how you would read it. No, the shar is a cheresh. The shar is a shaita. There's such a thing, he says. This, you know about this? The shvarim that are, no. So what are you pointing at him? No. There was a shepherd here yesterday. He learned in the yeshiva that they learn half a day. And they have 400 sheep. And he was making the sounds that you call. He said, this is a mashkuchis. You don't need a bell. You go, and they all come running to you. The Kitzer, he said, yes, there's such a thing called a meshugana sheep. He walks in a zigzag. He keeps on stumbling and falling. Yeah, meshugana. There is such a thing. It's not only by human beings. I should have read that email from that guy. I didn't read it in English. I got to read it. Hold on. Let me get out of here. Let me see if I can do it real quickly. You got to hear this email. This is from a bacher. This is gewaldig. Hold on. He says, I prefer if you don't read my name. So it comes from Avraham Bensky. Dear Rebelli, I must thank you for the free Gemara that you sent me. The day before I was going to camp, your good chaver, Yumi Rosenbaum, knocked on the door and handed me a Gemara. This guy's from Australia. Kids are, huh? I said it in English? In the Hebrew one. I read in the Hebrew one, I think. No, maybe I did do it in English. No. Just in case, because you guys weren't here. I love it. This is for you. I love the song that Rav Nachman Seltzer sings. Could you email it to me? Here, like. Another boy, kids, I'm not going to read it. Another boy in my class thinks you're a Meshugana. Another boy in my class thinks you're Meshugana. Shkoyach. I'm still trying to brainwash him. The reason for him thinking this is that one time I showed him the video of you laying on the table doing Kriya V'Shtachava. So I told him, you changed many lives, including mine. Kitzer, he thinks I'm Meshugana. Okay, there is such a thing. It's not only by Magid Shiurim, it's also by sheep. Fine. Next. That's for sure. Okay. So, I was gonna save this for the end, but I see the island's in a great mood. I love this joke, but the problem is I told it to a bunch of people, and they looked at me like I was Mishon. They just didn't get the joke. So I'm gonna tell it to you. Hopefully, now I do have to preface this that I have a koilel. I sponsor this koilel. I learn in the koilel. I love koilel, but I'm an equal opportunity when it comes to jokes and making fun of people. It doesn't matter if it's Litvaks, it's Hasidim, whatever it is, women, men, koilel. Rabbi said there was a dog that the owner wanted to bring him into the shul. And the guy said, absolutely not. There's no dogs in shul. He said, no. There's not any dog that you've ever seen. This dog is something very special. After a little convincing, the guy says, fine, bring him in. So the dog comes in, without hesitating, the dog walks over to the closet, pulls open, grabs a siddur, brings it to the table, opens the siddur, and he dives the whole Shemona Esrei, the kriyas, the shtachavos, everything, perfect. He finishes, puts the siddur back, takes out a Mishnah Berurah, does some, learns. So the guy walks over to the guy and says, I don't understand you. You're right. This dog is like really special. So why don't you take this dog on the road? You'd be a millionaire. You know how many people want to see a dog learning Torah, Damish Shemona Esrei? Guy says, what do you think? I didn't think about this. All this dog wants to do is learn all day. Some guys chatted, some guys not. See, from a whole audience. Too slow, Remy, too slow. But maybe we have it over there. Okay. Nachman is a good one. Okay, good. Some people understand it. All the why you yeah, what a joke, unbelievable. Wow, that was like the greatest joke Eli ever said. All the kind of guys like, Leiby is like, what are you doing? Dumbest joke I ever heard in my life. And not only is it a bad joke, you shouldn't even say a joke like that in shir.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke, but it's not as good as the Yisham Chassan. Yisham Chassan is the best joke. That's the best joke.
Shtickle off color. Okay, right. So you do have a dog that's a shaita. You have dogs. Oh, Rabbi, I got to show you this video that one of the Israelis sent me last night after shir. Here's a kela. If anybody wants to see what a dog that is shaita looks like, this is a Gavaldic video. Here comes a dog. That's what we call a kelef shaita. I'm telling you, it's good to have the Israeli shir before. You never know what you're going to get afterwards. Okay. Zok the Gemara. So this is the Mishnah. Oh. So if it doesn't matter if the bull, and it's actually interesting, we're going to bring a raya from this line also. It doesn't matter if the bull doesn't have seichel, is a weird bull, he's a katan, meaning a newborn bull that doesn't know how to be careful from a bar. You're chayav on all of them. Why? Torah says, it doesn't tell you smart, dumb, young, old. Benoi bas, but a human being, a 2-year-old crawling, ran away from its mother, fell into the pit. Oh, he's right. Potter, you potter. Why? I forgot to bring this. It was more negeti yesterday. A guy in Bet Shemesh fell into a pit yesterday that had a bunch of water on the bottom. That Gemara that we were learning, and they had to rescue him. He was drowning in a pit. Mamish yesterday. Kisser Mashem.
You.
It's all about the daf. It's all about the daf. What happened to him, not happened, it's not a gift. We did already. No, we spoke about it. Says Gemara, Berisha Ademas. Berisha Ademas. Oh, now we said Nachamol. The first guy hands over the reins to the second guy. He didn't hand over. The first guy closes the bar. How can we learn Torah like this? You're having way too much fun. The first guy, and I was worried. It's like one of the easiest dapim in Shas. Just goes. There's nothing to say on it. Don't give out. The first guy closes the bar. The second guy finds it uncovered. Why? Because as we're going to see later, the worm. So what? So the first guy's potter forever. We have 3 shittas here. Now once he finds out, as long as he could find out, people let him know. People will notify him. This is a whole long list. He has enough time to go hire workers. v'yichrois arozim, and they'll chop some wood down, and they'll fashion it to be a cover of a bar. It's a whole long process. It takes 2 weeks or something like this. V'chasenu. That's how low. What about the second guy? Says Rashi, the second guy doesn't have this excuse. As soon as he finds it open, he has to go make a cover. He has to pay somebody to stand watch, guard. First guy doesn't have to. Says Gemara, he closed it properly, and then a shor or chamar fell in there and died. Says the Gemara, if he covered it with a manhole, a metal piece, how did anybody fall in there? It's a piece of wood, and he had no idea. It was all wormy, and eventually it fell apart. So now, just to give you a quick hakdama to what's going to be here in the sugya, the Gemara is going to have 2 questions. Question number 1, what if he covered this pit? It's strong enough to hold a bull, not strong enough to hold a camel. And the camel comes by once in a while. It's not a normal thing for camels. We see horses, bulls in the street. We don't necessarily see camels that often. Okay, once in a while. But so then the camel comes, steps on it, cracks it, and it becomes weak. And then when a bull, even though it was strong enough to hold a bull, but right now it's not strong enough to hold, and a bull falls into it. So what the Gemara is going to do, the Gemara is going to prove, first of all, how strong did he cover it? Was it strong enough for a bull? Was it strong enough for a proof from our Mishnah? These are the 2 lines in the Mishnah. Kiso karoi, lo kiso karoi, that he covered it properly. What does properly mean? For a bull or not for? We're going to prove that it's only for a bull, not for a camel. Once we prove that, we're going to say, okay, but are there camels that go by all the time or not really? Okay, once we have those 2 pieces, the 2 green pieces on the bottom, now we have a raya. The Gemara is going to go to the second part. Like you saw, he didn't cover it. What does it mean, like you saw? Was it enough for a camel? Not. Okay, we'll prove it. It's not enough for a camel, but enough for a bull. Is it shchiach that a camel goes by there? No. Yes. Okay. Then we have another question, a beautiful question. What happens if it's not strong enough for a camel? He's a posheya. There's camels there all the time. Not strong enough for a camel. What happened was, it didn't even break because of a camel. A camel never stepped on it. It's not good. So he's a posheya for a camel. What happened was, like we said, worms came and broke it. And then a bull fell in. Do we say migoy? Migoy, since he was bad, he was posheya because he didn't put a cover that's strong enough for a camel. You're right at the end. That's not what happened. The camel didn't fall. A little tiny worm caused the problem, but maybe he was a posheya. And since he was a posheya by a camel, we consider it a posheya. So the Gemara goes through the same thing. Kiso karoi, what is it talking about? Is it strong enough, not strong enough? Is it shchiach, not shchiach? And we go through that takes the entire Amud Beis. It's just a lot of words. We can literally fly through it. That's the whole thing. So now, Ibaylu. Let me show you what Yoshi did. I like this a lot. We didn't have this last night. Check. This is the question, the first question of the Gemara. Beautiful. Here's a bar with a cover. You see, he made a little crack on it. And then comes the bull. So now that's the Shiloh. It was strong enough for the bull. But that's not what happened. The camel came and weakened it. Iboilu. What happens if you put a cover that's strong enough to hold the bull? It's not strong enough for a camel. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, but you know what? This is all at 2, 3 in the morning because this was not available at 10 o'clock at night when the Israelis. So he was up. I don't know what time. I didn't check. He's really not supposed to be working. I mean, part of the idea is that he should go to sleep at a normal time these days. But okay, I didn't know he's going to do. He's surprised in the morning. I wake up, boom, it's there. I'll tell him. You're right. Maybe if we could do it, Yosef, real quickly. I don't know what is. If you could do it, it's probably very simple for him just to have like you said, a bull walking back and forth. Doesn't. Okay, take 10 minutes for it. But it's not strong enough to hold up for camels. And camels came and weakened, but how do you say it? It made the crack, thank you. Made a crack in the thing. Weakened it. Then came the bulls. What's the halacha? Amri. Hechidami. Now we have to prove from the Mishnah what's going on here. If there are camels going back and forth all day, then he's considered negligent even for the bulls. And if it's not common, if camels don't go there, so then he's not chayiv. Says the Gemara, they come once in a while. Which the Gemara later on is going to say, yeah, it doesn't make sense. If they come once in a while, you're also, you're pesheya. You should know that once in a while they come by. Mi amrina, says the Gemara, kivin the asin leprokim pesheyahu. You say, since he knows that they come once in a while, then right now he's a pesheya. He should have thought about it. Dilma, kivin the hashta miyas leka. Right now, they're not there, these camels. Oh, no, so. Toshma. Kiso karoi. So you want to see Nachamal. We have in the Mishnah 2 lines. He covered it properly. Umeis, a bull fell into it and he died potter. What's the case? If he put a proper cover for camels that are much heavier as well, had they fallen? Must say that it's our case. Mamish our case, that it's strong enough for bulls, not strong enough for camels. Amai potter. But if once in a while now we have to go to the second thing. We have to prove, are there we know how strong it is. It's strong enough, we just proved it's strong enough just for bulls, not for camels. But do camels come by there? We have to prove that also. If there's no camels there at all, it's in Borough Park, there's no camels, pshita, of course, anasu. Why should he even think that? No, they come once in a while. And so, you know what? I just thought of something. You know how difficult it is when I lived in Chicago? One Purim, I wanted to bring a horse to Chicago. So I couldn't bring a horse. There's no such thing. How can you bring a horse to Chicago? I called the farmers. I said, I need a horse. It's Purim. Food said, give me a horse. Finally found one guy that's asking to bring a horse. I told you guys, I dressed up like Haman in Chicago. And I went to Dunkin' Donuts drive-by. And I show up. I ordered like a donut. I show up. I said, okay. She almost fainted. A horse shows up. Then I went to the bank to take out money in the drive. Then I went through the whole neighborhood. And I looked, I had a nose like this, like come on. I admired it. And I was just thinking, Campbell and Borough Park. And because it never happened. You have pictures. Not for that. I just thought about the story now. That's broken. Oh, yeah, hold on a second. We'll do spines in a second. Once in a while, these camels come by. That's our story. And the camels came and made a crack. And then came the bulls. We prove from our Mishnah, our story. And they fell. And it says, Potter, Alma. So you see from here, so since they're not here, usually he's considered an Anos Potter. Amri Loy, so the Gemara says no. Oh, so we just turned to Amud Beis, sponsored by the famous Jonathan Stefansky. You wait for Chodesh Adar. I don't know if it's Aleph or Beis. I don't know when he does it. What is it usually? Beis. When I announced that we have a Sif Arbeim V'Shesh, they could you get tax deductions and donations. He jumped out of his seat. He went to the back, swiped his credit card on the Nadarim Plus machine, and he said he's sponsoring the turning of the Daf to remind people that it's almost the end of the year in Chaper Ryan.
We count for Americans as well, end of year tax thing?
Yeah, Americans also have it. No, Americans don't need this kind of stuff. It's only Israeli. Fine, whoever wants it. You didn't sponsor, not you. You want to sponsor for that? Yosef is sponsored by Yosef Billyack to remind the Olam in America. I'm just kidding. Elalav. It's an honor to say it. We don't need the money. It's an honor to say it. Elalav dasin the program was Gmalim Baru. Vasu Shvar. Says Gemara Amri Loy. That's not a raya. Perhaps it's a cover that's strong enough to hold camels. And he asked me, how's it possible that a camel fell there? As we said before, it's wormy. That's how it fell. Tashma, like you so karoi. Oh, now we're going to go to the second part of the Mishnah and do this all over again. Like you saw, you see, if you notice Rashi, there's like 6 lines of Rashi because it's just repetitive. Like you saw, Karoi. He didn't cover it properly. Again, what do we want to know? We have a place where the guy put a cover. It's not strong enough for a camel, strong enough for a bull. A camel did come because a camel usually doesn't go there, but this time he did come. He cracked it, and then a bull fell in there. What's the halacha? Like you saw, Karoi. He didn't cover it properly. He didn't cover it properly. What's the case? We have to prove now. How strong is this cover? If it's not good enough for bulls and camels, pshita, you have to tell me in such a case, so we narrowed it down. It's our case. It's strong enough to hold the bull, not strong enough to hold the camel. What's the case? If there's a lot of camels there, so he's negligent. And if there's no camels, so it must be our case where they come once in a while. We're holding 6 lines from where it becomes wide. So come camels, they weakened it, they cracked it, and then that's mamish our case. The bull fell in there. And it says in the Seif of the Mishnah, Chayav. Alma, kim dasin leprokim peshehu. Since once in a while they show up there, you're considered negligent. The boile asuga daite. Loilam says the Gemara, no. Karoy l'shvarim v'loy. It's strong enough to hold bulls, like we said, and not for camels. Ushchichid gemalim. Oh, this is different. The camels show up all the time. You asked me the obvious question. He's very negligent. He should have known these camels. They're there every day. You're right. There's absolutely no chiddush here. I did not say kisol karoy. Not say like kisol karoy. It's just in a pattern. We're talking about one case. The main case is that he covered it properly. The Mishnah Agav says also like kisol karoy. Fine, but not to tell us any major chidushim. Ikadamri. And now the Gemara shifts. We're going to do the same thing all over again, but a different question, a very interesting question here. No, that wasn't our question. That's Pashat says the Gemara that in this case. No, come on. The guy covered it, strong enough for a bull, not strong enough for a camel. Came a camel that usually doesn't show up, but he sometimes does. Sometimes people bring camels. There's 1 or 2 people in the city that have a camel. The heavy camel cracks the cover, falls a bull in there. Says the Gemara, that's Pashat Yischayev. Once in a while, a camel comes by. Once in a while, there's a semi-trailer truck that comes by the street. Not every day, but once in a while. So if you don't take that into consideration, you're negligent. That wasn't even the question, says the Gemara. We have a different question, a very gishmaki question. What if he covered it with a cover that withstand the weight of a bull? But that's our question. And the camels go all day long. And it got all wormy. And now the question is, since he is negligent regarding the camels, but the damage didn't come from the camel, so therefore we are going to say that he's considered negligent even when it comes to the worms. This is something interesting. This is called a migui. Now Taisus points out, I just want to point out, Taisus says there's another famous concept, and we spoke about it. If a person started out negligent, and then a non-negligent thing happened because of the damage, you're chayev. So how come over here we don't say tchilasi b'shia v'soif ba'oinus, which is different than the Gemara's question of migui? Says Taisus v'tiris riva. You don't say that idea. They have to be connected to each other. Over here, the guy was negligent when it comes to camels. Comes a tiny little bug and ruins the cover. One had nothing to do with the other. He was negligent over here, but not negligent over here, and they didn't have a connection. Is when they have a connection. But over here, the Gemara is asking, do we say migui? Since he was negligent. When it comes to camels, then we also consider him negligent when it comes to the worms, tashma. So again, we're going to go through the same Mishnah, the Reish and the Seif, the 2 cases. Kiso karoi. Start off with kiso karoi. Perhaps we can prove it from that. He covered the pit properly. And even though he covered it properly, a bull went in there, umeis and died, potter. Vitmar Allah, and we already explained. It's talking about that the worms ate it up. That's how it fell. Hechidami, what's the case? If it's proper, it could withstand the weight of a camel, and it wormed out. Pshita the potter, certainly he's potter. Might have a little meba. What should he done? How could you hold him liable when he did whatever he was supposed to do? The Torah says, put a cover, he put a cover. He's supposed to know that it became wormy. Perhaps we could learn from here and explain that it's not strong enough to hold a camel. And there's many camels over there. That's mamish our case, that it's not proper for a camel. So he's a pshia. Mamish or pshia. Why is it pshia? Because shchichi. You don't even have to say shchichi. I'm thinking now. You don't even have to say shchichi. We're already established that even if leprokim. But let's say shchichi. Let's go to the far example, says the Gemara. Even the camels walk by every 10 minutes, and you were negligent when it comes to the camel. But what happened? You got lucky. A camel is not what caused the problem. It's the little worms that caused the problem. So here's a raya. You don't say this migu. You see, just because you're negligent in one thing, since the damage came from a completely different area, you're pater l'chayra. Says Gemara, it's strong enough to hold the camels. It's all strong enough to hold obviously the bulls, and it got wormed out. It became wormy. And you ask me, but what should he do? Why should he be Chaya if it's not his fault? Says Gemara, I would think that it's his fault. He should kick it with his foot. He should step on it hard, stomp on it. Here, if it sounds a little rusty, a little wormy, a little hollow, and then so once in a while, he has to do, I don't know, he has to do normal inspections, whatever OSHA decides. You know, you have these kind of things. This is inspections, yearly inspection. I don't know what. Kamash malon. Yeah. Fine. Everything else. I'm in the real estate business, so we have our software tells us every apartment when you have to walk the apartment. Every single apartment has to be walked at least twice a year. You have to see, change the batteries in the smoke detectors, make sure the filters, there's the whole thing. You have to do inspections, normal maintenance. You can't just build a cover made out of wood with all the moisture, with all the salt from the plow machines, with all that, and walk away for 40 years. It's your chrayas once in a while. I would think that. Kamashma, you don't, for whatever reason. Tashma. Like you so karoy v'nafal atoychay shara chamar umeis chayav. Now we're going to the second part of the Mishnah. It says you didn't cover it properly. And a bull, again, so we're trying to see, nachamal. There was a pshia. It's a beautiful shiloh. There's a pshia. He was negligent when it came to camels. But that's not where the tzara happened. The tzara happened from worms. Do you say, since he was a negligent person to begin with, is he chayav migui, that he's negligent for camels, will make him chayav because of the worms? So Tashma, it says in the Mishnah, like so you didn't cover it properly. But the shar chamar meis chayav. Hey Chidami, what's the case? It was a terrible cover, didn't even hold the weight of a bull. You have to tell me such a chiddush. It must be that it's strong enough for a bull. You see what I'm talking about? It's mamish repetitive over and over. If there's camels there all day, then he's negligent. And if there's no camels, then he's aynus. It must be our case that he's negligent for camels, but not negligent for worms. And the worms are what cause the damage. Almost, you see how the answer. Amrino migud have b'shelin gimalim, my b'shelin not law. He's chayiv. So you see, you do say this concept of migud. So the says, Amri loy lom karel shvarim, loy karel gimalim. We're talking about it. Yes, it could withstand bulls, not camels. Ushrich gimalim, he's negligent because it's camels. Vasu gimalim baru vasu shvarim v'noflu bay. The camels came, cracked it, weakened it. Comes the bull, falls in it. Uti kashloch pshita b'sheyo. Yes, me. Oh, but he's negligent. He's by psheya. I did not say Rashik. So Karoy, not say Nami like you so. I'm sorry, not say Rashik so Karoy, not say Nami like you so. You're right, there's no Chiddush in it. We're just as the pattern, typical Mishnah. We talk about the case of he covered it properly. We talk about a case he didn't cover it properly. Tashma. Now we're going to a Brisa. Nova letoichoy shor cheresh shoyta v'katan. We don't have to do all the jokes again. There's something called a shor. That's a shoyta. I've never seen one. I did see. I saw this once in my life. I saw a video of an orangutan that was a shaita. Mamish, because they have a very similar DNA, the closest DNA to human beings. He was completely off. You saw in his face, the whole thing, he was off. But I didn't know that it's possible by animals. Fine. And this guy was, the animal was blind. The animal was a small animal, and he walks at night. Chaya, if he falls into the bar, it doesn't matter. You can't say, oh, the owner had a shoita animal. It's not my fault. No, you're chayiv. Why? Torah says, shar yichayiv. Pikeach, listen to this. This is how I start off the shir. If you have an animal that's pikeach, Rabbi said, you guys remember the pikeach shar? The shar that had a boo-boo on his back, and he went and he burnt the gadish to make ash, and then he took the ash and he rolled in it, and the Gemara says, is there such a thing? Yes, the bull of Rav Papa drank the beer to get rid of its toothache. So you have a pikeach. He's a genius professor in Harvard. A genius.
Not a male.
I don't want to. I'm going to get some emails from Harvard now. Just joking.
No, not
Pikeach u'mahalach b'yoyim patur. It says mefurish. You hear this, Rabbi say? A bull was walking during the day and fell into a pit. He's patur. You should say, this is beautiful. If you were negligent for the shaita, if you were negligent for the other ones, you should be chayiv in all situations, even a situation where it's not your fault, even if the animal walked in the middle of the day. Elalav, and the Gemara loves this. Shma mina, from here you can see, lo yamrina migo. You don't see, since you're negligent for one case, even though a different case completely happened and there was a negligence or not, something else happened, you don't say, oh, since you're negligent for this, you chayiv for that. No, the two separate cases, shma mina, and from that the Gemara says, it's a great raya. Have a wonderful day. Rabbi Isai, can we say Kapitel Tehillim, please? No, this is Migu Acher. Yeah, Kol Shas Migu Acher. Shir Lamalo, Yisoyna Yelorim Ayovo Yezri, Ezri Mimadino Yisei Shomayim Oretz. Al Yitei Lamoy Daglecha Yerum Shemrecho. Hinei Lo Yonum V'Lo Yishon Shemei Yisrael. Adino Shemrecho Adino Tzvi Yad Yiminecho. Yoyma Mashemesh Lo Yakekov Yireach Baloilo. Adino Yishmor Chomegoro Yishmor Es Nafshecho. Adino Yishmor Tzischo V'Yecho Me'atov Yadilo. Machenu K'Bis Yisrael Nisur Mitzor Shivyo. Hoimdim Bein Bayom Bein Bosho Amokim Rachim Alein Tzim Zol Revocho Me'afei Lo Liyoyro Mishivu Ligeulo Hashto Bagalov Is Man Korif and Imar.